Part 2, the convenience. What is different about her? She knows I saw a lawyer yesterday because I wasn't at work. When asked, I told her that I had a consultation. She started talking about the kids in custody right away. She asks me if I think she's a bad mother. I just look at her like, what the hell? I asked her if a good mom would do what she did this weekend. She tells me our girls mean everything to her. She asks me if I'm going to go after full custody because of her actions. I simply tell her I haven't decided anything and all options are on the table right now. She tells me she wants to keep the girls' environment the same, no moving out. No 50-50 split. She doesn't want them affected by a separation. Then she tells me she wants to stay in the house with them. I tell her she's dreaming if she expects that outcome. Later last night and again this morning, she calls me with desperation in her voice, begging me not to file, telling me she's after all this up, telling me she wants me to give her more time to fix herself. I tell her that her words are meaningless vapor to me. They have no worth anymore. I tell her actions speak louder than words, and all her actions and behaviors are negative. We have a few MC sessions scheduled over the next 2 months. She asked me if she could have a couple to herself. I agree, no problem there. She says she's been calling her IC, but nothing is available till mid-Sept. I knew this was going to happen when I started the D process. The problem is I can't tell what's real or not anymore. She lies and withholds info in MC. I can't believe anything she says. So, I'm inclined to continue with File D next week. I can always stop it if she's able to prove herself. And in my state there can be a delay of up to 2 years before final if both parties don't agree to sign. So, she's got 2 years to prove herself. But of course, I will since have moved out and started a new life for myself. I can't wait around any longer. I need to move on in life for myself and my 2 girls. What a complete mess our lives are. Human beings can do some really stupid things. I saw another lawyer today and got basically the same perspective as the previous 2. Don't know which one I'll go with yet. All 3 seemed okay, although the youngster didn't impress me as much as the older, more experienced guys. No matter what, this is going to cost us $4,000 to $5,000, and that's if everything goes smoothly and there are no battles over custody or assets. Tonight, the W is taking our girls and 2 of their friends to the movies, so I'll have some quiet time to myself. Looking forward to it. Then Sunday our 2 girls got invited to a sleepover at a friend's house. W told me that will give us time to talk things over without any interruptions. Not looking forward to that. I'm so pissed about what she did this past weekend. I don't really want to talk about possibility of or I'm not offering it anymore. All she's going to do is beg and plead for me not to file. Beg for more time to fix herself. She says I'm just saying no R because I'm really furious with her actions and that as time passes, I may be open to it, so don't divorce me yet. From my perspective, what she did involving our kids is a major deal breaker. We came home from work to pick up the girls to take them to the movies. She immediately sits down and starts crying. I say nothing, just waiting on her. She begins with saying how screwed she is financially. She was crunching numbers today and figured out on her salary she can't pay for car insurance, utilities, food, you name it. Says she needs a new van because hers is old and worn out, that I got a newer car 2 years ago because I was driving an 18-year-old Jeep with a lot of miles on it. She can't afford a newer car. I planned all this to dump her because over the past 3.5 years of the affair I've slowly been pulling myself away. She can't see the reality of it all. I took her off my credit card so she wouldn't spend money on the OM. She freaked out saying I was jeopardizing our kids because she had no way to cover an emergency when traveling to her relatives. Good point. So, I gave her a prepaid Visa worth $500. Not good enough, of course. She goes and gets a card in her name only, but the limit is low due to her credit score. So, what she does, she charges up all kinds of stuff and maxes it out. So, what good is that for an emergency? I try to pay it down, but she recharges faster than we can pay it off. She thinks I'm stiffing her by leaving her with that debt. I split our savings 50-50 3 months ago when I found the going strong again behind my back. Yeah, it's all a conspiracy to get her. Give me a break. Well, all the back and forth got me going and I said some things I shouldn't have, but they're true. I told her to go get whatever money she's short from her lover. I told her she wasn't worried about finances while she was sleeping with him said a night. Those comments enraged her, so I left the room to get the girls ready to leave. She starts cursing at me and saying her own hurtful things about stuff that happened years ago. I leave that room to get away and she finally calms down and gets a bite to eat. Then as they are leaving for the movies, she comes to me and says, I don't want to fight like that. I agree with her. I tell her we need to stay calm and focused to work out the details of this DSO. They get in the van. A second later my one daughter comes in and yells to me, why aren't you going? I tell her I never said I was going, that this was a play date with her best friend. She gets angry with me and stomps out. Wife comes back in and says, so you're really not going? To which I remind her I told her that at noon today, that I had other things to do and the girls each had their friends to see the movie with. I think my W put her up to coming in to get me. They leave and 5 minutes later, the W calls and says there's an accident and they were deterred and she's lost. She says to me once again, you dump us and look what happened. We'll miss the start of the movie. I can't win. What have I done to help her heal emotionally? Well, the only thing I have control over is me and to improve myself, which I have done in many areas. Don't get me wrong, I'm not perfect and still have work to do. I've taken ownership for the wrongs I've committed and apologized many times. I've been open and available for MC at any time. I can't get inside her head and repair her thoughts or feelings. Only she can do that with help from her, I see, or we could work on it together in MC. But this whole time since D-Day she's been involved in the AMC stopped 1.5 years ago because she was faking it. Lying to the therapist, and it looked like things improved between us. She had me fooled and the counselor. So, she really hasn't done the necessary work within herself to heal. Some of the things she's saying the last few days confirm that to me. There are a lot of skeletons in her closet from growing up and from our tormented past. Not sure if that answers your question or not. Oh, forgot to add, I checked her texting today. She texted the OM telling him her plans with our girls tonight and hoping he was doing something fun with his kids. So, crying to me about D and still involved with the OM, screw her, as she starts to see the cold, hard reality of her future. She is falling apart. And yes, the next time she talks about R, I will be pointing that very fact out to her. She's still in this mode of she can fool me, play me, and keep things going on the side with him. The OM divorced his drunk, cheating second wife early this year, but he is seeing another married woman and my wife and who knows who else. He is a real piece of crap, low life. What gets me is he is a professional golf instructor, works with up-and-coming pro golfers. Looks like Mr. Perfect on the outside, but inside he's a cheater who uses women and breaks up families. You just never know about some people. Thanks for the encouragement to keep going. The W worked a half day, so I took our girls to the local pool. It was hot and the water felt great. I played with them in the pool and nearby playground. We were there for 4.5 hours. It was a wonderful time spent with them. The W got off work and came over to the pool. We didn't talk much at all, just a few words about upcoming activities for the girls this week. I caught her checking my cell phone a couple times when I stepped away or got in the pool. I had to laugh. There is nothing on there of any significance, just the text between her and I and business calls. Don't know what she was looking for. She even dialed my voicemail but doesn't have the access code. We came home and I had planned a cookout supper, with lamb chops on the grill, corn on the cob, fresh strawberries and whatnot. So, I started prepping and cooking, and while I was messing around with the grill, she steps in and helps with the side dishes. I didn't say anything, just let her continue. We had a delicious but very quiet family meal together. Tonight is the night our girls go to a sleepover nearby at a friend's house. I'm dreading tonight alone with her. Just sleeping in the same bed each night makes me want to vomit. I keep thinking that if things were better, this would have been a wonderful night together, nice dinner, cuddle up for a movie, lots of passionate bonding and no interruptions from the kids. Now all that is gone and replaced with tension plus lots of emotional pain that manifests into physical pain sometimes. This really hurts. Update. Well, Sunday was a very difficult day for me. I guess since I'll be filing D this week, my emotions were just churning inside me. I kept having images of my W and OM screwing in the hotel suite as my little girl slept in the next room. I flipped from pure rage and screaming into thin air to sobbing uncontrollably, then back again. After our girls went to their sleepover at a friend's house, I expected her to come to me and talk separation and custody, but she didn't. We just kept to ourselves in opposite sides of the house. Took me quite a while to fall asleep last night. I just couldn't stop my mind from going on and on with bad thoughts. Today I'm changing my direct deposit to my new personal checking account. I've set up online banking so I can quickly transfer funds into our joint checking to pay bills. I also have another appointment with an attorney local to me. Probably hear the same thing as from the others. Then I need to choose one and proceed. Also, tonight I plan on seeing my parents and telling them the whole story. This is going to suck big time. They know we have problems from past situations, but they have no clue about the affair or even my drinking problem. I'm going to lay it all out, including the crap I have done to wreck this marriage. It's going to be painful for everyone. I need to bring them into the picture for both emotional support and financial support. I don't have enough liquid cash to pay the retainer fee for legal representation, so I'll have to borrow it from them. As mentioned, I went to see yet another lawyer for a consultation. I almost canceled because I thought he's just going to tell me the same as everyone else. But I went anyway. Boy, I'm glad I did because he's the one I want. Yes, the basics for D were the same, but he just came across so smooth and confident. He's an older gentleman with years of experience. And get this, no retainer fee. When I asked about it, he said don't worry about it. I know you're good for it. I'm thinking what the heck? I ask again to be sure. He says he doesn't need a retainer from me because he sees I'm a long-time local resident with long-term stable employment in the same town. I couldn't believe it. Anyway, he's the one I'm going with. Last night after going to bed, my W read one of her books for about 10 minutes. Then she shut off the light and was silent for another 10. Then she starts asking me questions about our relationship, our past troubles, why I did certain things, how she felt inside when I pushed her away emotionally, when I disconnected from her, when I was drinking all the time. I answered them as honestly as I could and accepted blame for the rift I caused during that part of our marriage. I know I did not live up to my vows and mistreated her. She told me before it got really bad when our girls were very young, like 1 to 3 years old, she was very happy, loved me deeply, and was living her dream come true as a wife and mother. But as time went on, she could see me starting to withdraw into myself. I still struggle to figure out where I went off track. Looking back, I had a lot of issues colliding at once. We had a lot of stress with 2 twin girls, then toddlers. It was a huge amount of effort and we both dove in fully. I felt as though I was losing my sense of self. I was no longer number one to my wife anymore. On the surface I knew the kids must come first, but on some subconscious level I was feeling left out, less important. I also had issues with possessiveness. I was very attached to things like the house which I built before we met, like my classic car, like me electronics and book collection, etc. I didn't feel comfortable sharing these things with others, mainly because I put all the effort into acquiring them and I took pride in being able to do that as a single person. Now I see how selfish I was and how foolish my thoughts were about just objects that in and of themselves mean nothing. I was hooked on the manner in which I was able to achieve them. Giving them up or sharing them somehow made me feel like all my hard efforts were not appreciated. All of this stuff and more grew into bitterness and anger that I directed towards my wife. I explained all this to her last night. It really confused her. She asked if she did something wrong at the time to cause this, or was there something she failed to do. I told her no to both questions. From my understanding, these issues were within myself, not without outside influence, mind you, but they manifested inside me and I became lost. I didn't have the mental tools to cope with what I was feeling. I lost my sense of who I was and the type of person, husband I should have been. I wasn't happy with who I had become and turned to drinking to cover up the hatred I had developed for me, the pain I felt inside. And the booze was the end of us. I became addicted. She couldn't cope and made a very bad choice to go outside the marriage. Called my attorney today, told him to draft up the divorce complaint. I go on Thursday to review and sign it. Then it gets filed at the courthouse and she will be served via registered mail. So maybe within a week or so the D is off the ground. Then let the crap storm start. I stumbled across a small house for rent near where I work. I have an appointment, set to go see it. It's $100 over my budget, but what the heck? Maybe I can negotiate a smaller rent in exchange for cash up front, or 1-year lease. That's it for now. Got to go take my one daughter to horse riding lessons. Last night was brutal when we came home. The crap storm has started early. Where do I even begin? She saw an attorney yesterday. Either he misguided her or she misunderstands. She tells me she wants full physical and legal custody. Full legal almost never happens unless one parent is in jail or incapacitated, something really out of the ordinary. Then she says she promises not to be a pain or get nasty, after which she asks me if I will fight it and get nasty, expose her affair, etc. I tell her I want 50-50 and I will fight for my rights as defined by the law in our state. She's pissed. She says she doesn't want a battle, doesn't want our girls going before a judge to be interviewed, too traumatic. Plays the sympathy card. Of course, I see right through it. Then she goes into our pending separation, asks when I plan on moving out. I tell her I just started looking Monday, and the market isn't that good right now for decent rentals in our area. She starts pointing out different apartment complexes I should check out. How nice of her. All of them are slums. She tells me the sooner the better that I get out. She thinks if she keeps the girls with her, set the status quo, then advantage is hers for getting full custody. She tells me she's not going anywhere, meaning she's not leaving the house. For some reason she thinks because she's the mom, she automatically gets to stay in the house. Yes, that could happen and may be for the best for our girls short term during the D process. But when I asked her how she will pay for it, she doesn't know. Then she says she will get spousal support because her salary is much lower than mine. So, I ask her after I pay her child support and maybe spousal support, how will she be able to pay for everything? Mortgage, all the utility bills, food, gas, insurance. She just shakes her head as if realizing even sticking it to me won't solve the bigger issue. It basically takes most of my salary to pay for all these things, and they can't take it all away and just give it to her. She only gets a percentage based on tables and formulas defined by state law. I try to go over our options for the house. There are only 3. We either sell it and split equity. She gets it and takes over responsibility for all payments and debt, or I get it and do the same. Well, I no sooner got out the last part of that and she jumps up out of the chair pointing her finger at me saying I knew it. I knew you were going after the house. She's seething mad. I stay calm and attempt to explain the pros and cons. She doesn't want option 1, to sell, because she wants the kids to stay in the house. She can't afford option 2, Option 3 is the only one that seems to fit what we want for the kids. I tell her I want what works best for our situation and what's best for our girls. I tell her I'm okay with selling the house, splitting the money, and we go our separate ways. She has a mindset that I'm going to punish her somehow, even though I tell her I won't do that. I tell her doing that accomplishes nothing for any of us. Retribution is not what I want. So, she asks me if I filed, to which I don't respond. She asks again and I say I don't have an answer for her. No comment. She presses even more, getting ticked off, saying I'm being nasty just like she knew I would be. She's upset because I won't tell her why I have a follow-up doctor appointment tomorrow. Says she's worried I might have some kind of medical condition, maybe from all the stress. Gee, so glad you're worried about me, honey. Finally, after 40 minutes of this, she just breaks down, cries and sobs uncontrollably. She's had enough. I start to say something and she waves me off and goes upstairs to put the girls to bed. So, I run out to the grocery store to get some things we're out of. When I return, she's in our bed with both girls watching a movie. I step in, say hi, ask the girls what they are watching. One daughter immediately reprimands me, "Why didn't you cook mommy supper? She doesn't have anything to eat." I'm thinking to myself, what's she talking about? I respond that I did cook dinner for all of us and the leftovers are in the frig. W says, yeah, raw chicken makes a great meal. Then I get it. There were a couple pieces of chicken left that I didn't cook. I put those in wrapping paper. The rest I cooked up with 2 side dishes and put the leftovers in the frig. She saw the raw pieces and just assumed I screwed her over. After explaining the misunderstanding, the W does apologize. So, it's now 10:30 p.m. and I need to get to bed. I tell the girls this and they respond, "Mommy said we can sleep with her tonight." Wait just a minute. She's trying to push me out of the bedroom, out of my own bed. Not happening. So, I get ready, ask daughter to slide over and lay on about 6 of the edge and pretend to go to sleep. Well, their movie ended. W saw I wasn't going to leave and finally tells the girls they must go to their own rooms. This morning I wake up, get ready for work, and while I'm getting dressed in the bedroom, W rolls over and starts talking again. She's tired and exhausted, didn't sleep well, I guess. Her voice is craggy, bags under her eyes. She tells me to take my time finding a place, stay as long as I like. I ask why. She says the longer I stay, the more debts we can pay off, which is true. I tell her I will continue to look and when I find suitable accommodations I will be moving out. Then she asks about custody again. What do I want? I tell her again 50-50. She asks, is that physical or legal? I say it would be both. I tell her again we would need to talk about schedule because there are 100 ways it could be done. She says she wants them during the weekdays and I can have weekends. So, I ask her, you don't want any weekends? She retracts and says, no, you can have every other. I say that's not enough. I want 50-50. I suggest we split the week 3 to 4 then alternate. That way she gets some weekdays, W, weekends, and so do I. She appears open to the idea. Then she asks me if I'm wondering why she has a doctor appointment today. She just told me yesterday, so it's new. I said no, I'm not. She tells me she's getting tested for STD just like I did. She says she figured out what I was doing after she thought about it for a while. With my follow-up appointment and all. Okay, I don't know what to think about her getting tested. That's really bizarre since she's shown no sign of giving up the affair. Finally, I have to leave for work and she says to me, I want to fix this. I'm going to keep us together as a family. Oh boy, she just doesn't get it. She broke me, pushed me too far this last time, and there's no chance of repairing this marriage. She could attempt to set the status quo by withholding access to my kids. My attorney said it would be best if we have an established agreement about custody between my W and I, which I'm working on now. He said if we have that in place, verbal and written agreement between the two of us, and she blocks me from access, then I immediately file a custody complaint and the courts take it up. I would never move out and then allow the kids to stay with her for weeks and weeks, allowing her to create a status quo. I would take action immediately. Does that make sense to you? Or am I missing something? Update. Well, I have good news out of all this crap. Had my follow-up with my doctor this morning. I tested negative for all STD. However, I'm not totally in the clear yet, due to the incubation period for HIV and timing of my last contact with her. I have to get retested for HIV 6 months from now. I also stopped by the attorney's office to verify the divorce claim document and sign it. Now it goes across the street to the courthouse to be entered. Then it will be mailed to my wife. So, she'll be getting served next week sometime. I asked them to call me the minute they put it in the mail. I need to know when she will be getting it so I can prepare myself for the firestorm. Heard W telling a friend of hers she's staying in the house. Yeah, right. She may be allowed to remain there during the D process if that's what we both decide. But long-term she won't be. She can't afford to buy out my interest or even pay the remaining mortgage. I wish she could see that. Do I regret marrying my wife? There have been times throughout our troubled marriage that I had regrets. Early on, before she got on meds, when her temper was outrageous, I often thought, what the hell did I get myself into? I wished we had lived together for some time before getting married. I think this would have revealed some of the issues and may have changed my mind. Or maybe not, love can be blind sometimes. Now it's harder to say that because of my wonderful girls. Thinking in that way, wish I'd never married her sort of diminishes how important my kids are to me. Because what if somehow a genie heard me and gave me my wish? Poof. No wife, no kids. Where would I really be now? Yeah, I could be in a different loving, fulfilling relationship even with great kids. Or I could be dead from alcoholism, fed by depression. I really don't know what I will do if she wants to come back. Right now, I have too much hatred and anger toward her, which trumps all the other feelings of love and companionship that still linger somewhere deep down inside me. If it happens 3 months or 6 months from now, all I can say is she better have it together 100% for me to even look her way. I will not take her back unless her issues have been dealt with and she demonstrates all the appropriate actions. Just like this last week, she talks, manipulates, pulls the sympathy card, threatens, but no positive actions that would signal to me she wants the marriage. I have no desire to start dating. My heart and soul are too damaged right now. I do look around as I'm out and about and notice some really nice looking ladies. No dating scene for me for at least 6 months. I just put my classic car up for sale. W finally agreed to sell it now that she needs money, go figure. It's on eBay and on my car club's website. I'm also putting it out at my parents' house. They live on a very busy road that sees a lot of daily work commuters plus tourists. Hope I get someone to bite on it. That would cover lawyer fees and erase our credit card debts. As I was leaving for work this morning, wife starts talking to me about the house. She asks if I would consider refinancing our remaining mortgage, 4 years to go, as a 15-year to greatly reduce the cost. I asked her why. She says that way she could afford the payments. I told her she could finance it herself, that I don't necessarily want the house in the end. She says she won't qualify for a loan. She tells me that what she meant was we refinance together and then she stays in the house for 5 years, after which she would get her own place. I told her no, I'm divorcing you and our marital property will be divided. I told her she's more than welcome to buy me out of the house and refinance the mortgage. Of course she can't. So, then I tell her I have a proposal to our separation dilemma. I suggest we get a small, 1-bedroom, 1-bath apartment close by and we swap in and out of the house. The kids stay put and stable. They keep their own beds, pets, friends, toys, holidays, etc. and we get to share equal time with them. Which is what I want, based on a rotating schedule. I tell her it's only applicable until the deed is final because at that time the house would have to be dealt with by selling or one of us buying it. She had a therapy session last night with the MC. She tells me she has made a huge mistake and realizes that now. She says she is going to fix things, fix us. I tell her even if all the physical things could necessary, NC, transparency, that she has no clue how to repair what's broken inside of me. Hell, I don't even know if that's possible. Just got off the phone with her. She likes the apartment idea. She asks that we do a 1-year lease and she works on herself and tries to prove herself. She asks me not to file and she will agree to the apartment conditions. Well, I told her it's too late. I filed and the courthouse has entered it. She asks me to call them and try to retract it or put a hold on it. I ask her why. She makes up all these excuses about the stigma of D on the girls, and wanting time to improve her employment, wanting time to pay down our debts, and so on. I tell her I think it's simply because of her embarrassment. She says that's part of it. She tells me she'll make a deal with me. If I don't file and we do the 1-year lease and nothing is better between us at that time, she will sign the D right away. I tell her I'm not interested in deals and that I gave her 3 years to get her act together. Now she wants another year. Are you kidding me? She's frantic, desperate right now. She's really going to be a handful after she gets served and the D is announced in the local paper. God, this sucks. She tells me if I really care about her, I will accept this deal. I still love her and she's playing my emotions. Should I give her one more chance? My feeling is continuing with the D process and she can take all the time she needs on the other side to fix herself and try and prove herself. We have a 90-day waiting period and then she can postpone by up to 2 years. I think having the D on the table and in process is more of an incentive than me withdrawing it and just holding the threat of it over her. It's really tough staying on track. She keeps trying her best to sway me and twist things. I can see it clearly most of the time, but once in a while she tugs just the right emotional string and I waver. I cannot do that. I must stay the course now and keep on track. Having the whole town find out about a D filing sucks, but they don't know why. Only her and I do. It's as if she thinks anyone knowing about a D filing automatically reveals her affair. I've been thinking about this lately. She feels embarrassed and ashamed about what she did, but I feel those emotions can be somewhat selfish in nature because the person is worrying about themselves and how others see them. Although it is a good starting point for someone to realize they've done wrong, sort of like an internal red flag. At one point years ago, I too felt shame for how I mistreated my wife. But that shame gave me the motivation to seek out professional help so that I could learn about myself and make changes to become a better person. Today I don't feel shame anymore, I do feel lots of regret. remorse and guilt for my part in the disintegration of our marriage. She was telling me this morning that she wanted time to fix herself and she wants to keep us together. Blah. Blah. I asked her, does she even know what I want or need for that to happen? She replied, yes, I do. I asked her how she knows. Does she read minds now? She hasn't asked me what it would take, and I've seen no actions on her part so far. I even told her if she really felt this way, why hasn't she done anything over the last 2 weeks since the most recent exposure? She didn't have an answer. I mean, come on now, if I was in her position, I would be jumping through hoops to get my attention. I'd throw away my cell phone, give up all email, provide all cell phone records, on and on. She's done nothing of the sort. She keeps running her damn mouth but doesn't act on anything or show any signs of doing anything to show me she understands the mountain of pain I've been through. I asked her over 3 weeks ago directly to provide me access to her cell phone records, and still nothing. So far, I haven't gotten even a little token of effort from her. Just her trying to cover her back and control what I'm doing. This is so exhausting. I'm stunned. My W and I just had an email exchange about my classic car that I just put up for sale. I have a hot prospect that's very interested in it pending some additional pictures. I emailed to tell her we may have a buyer soon. She emails back that we'll get by somehow and she doesn't want me to sell it. She knows it's important to me. So, I respond that I've done a lot of soul searching over the past few years and I've realized I'm too selfish and possessive about objects like my car and the house, and I've learned I need to let some things go. Like her. She responds back she insists that I keep it and relinquishes all rights and claims to it. In writing, well, isn't that very noble of her? In the end, it doesn't change the fact we have debts to settle and need money for attorney's fees and maybe a shared apartment. A thought just accrued to me. Maybe this is some kind of test. If I immediately say, okay honey, I'll keep it. Thank you, it proves that I'm still selfish. Or maybe she thinks it's some kind of peace offering from her to me, which I'm sure she will bring up later when she wants something that I don't agree with. Then she'll say, hey, I let you keep your car, I want this or that. Or maybe I'm overthinking the whole thing. I'm having second thoughts about this sharing an apartment idea. 24 hours ago, it seemed great. My parents even like it. It does give the kids a lot of stability because they are staying put in the one place they know. But I'm wondering if it will involve too much interaction between the W and I mean we'll be sharing a small apartment. One at a time, of course, and swapping in out of the marital home on some kind of fairly equal schedule. But it feels like this arrangement will only prolong the divorce. If it works well, then why should she agree to settlement of our property and final deed, which will certainly put her in a bad spot financially? I mean, it seems to make it too comfortable for her. On the flip side, it is much more financially doable than supporting 2 separate households and will allow us to pay off debt and continue to pay down our mortgage. There would be rules and boundaries surrounding this arrangement. No OM or OW in the house or apartment. No introduction to the kids in any manner. But what is the end game? I want a divorce and to be able to get on with my life, and this just feels like limbo. What do you all think? My comment: I think you should just get the divorce done as quickly as possible and move on. You know, you'll be paying for the apartment and she will be having the OM there. Look what she had already done at the hotel. Part 3 coming today.